Hey, Versus Z, it's me, Tasuke, or Flamzeron, or whatever you want to call me. I saw your video on your Versus Eclipse channel, that video 44 dot whatever. I mean, you'll probably rename it at some point. I just want to say I agree with you that if you haven't already, you should probably go back to the basics. And by you, I mean like everybody. I don't mean like you personally, because I mean, you're trying to go back to the basics from what I gathered from your video, or if you haven't already, which, Because, at bottom line, although these figures are, in a way, a form of art in terms of how they look, their design, how articulated they are, they're still just toys, They're made for, playing with, they're a child's thing. I mean, nowadays, companies do try to cater towards the older group, such as myself, and people even older than me, because I'm only 19. But at even then, they're toys. Personally, I like to display my action figures. I like to display them with different characters because I like seeing different characters sort of interact with each other directly or indirectly. In this case, indirectly. Like, my favorite scenes in these cartoons and TV shows are when a bystander will interact with a major character. I really love those kind of scenes, just because of the fact that, you can see two different kinds of people sort of interact with each other. I love seeing that. And although it's not like a crossover where, they are interacting in the way they probably should be, um, it's still sort of an indirect interaction in a way. Like, I've got Zach Fair from, I was about to say Soul Calibur. No. Final Fantasy Crisis Core, to be exact. I've got him on my shelf, and I've got Kuwabara, Kurama, and Yusuke, and, they're all going like, ha! With their hands out, like this. Yusuke's got his hand like this, because, his hands are designed to be like this. When you separate them, you get that kind of deal. I should probably put his hand like this, where he's going like, bling bling. All that good junk. I like doing that. Uh, but I also like to fiddle around with my figures, like how you mentioned that when you're stressed, you like to play with your figures. That there's nothing wrong with that. I fiddle around with my figures too, like when I'm listening to podcasts or really anything audio related. If I'm ever really, or even if I'm bored, I fiddle around with my figures, and sometimes I like to make them fight each other, as childish as that sounds like. I actually got a figure a while ago. Shiro from Fate Shiro from Fate Stay Night, and he, he's my favorite character. And I did a review on Saber, so I decided to get Shiro. Well, any new action figure I get has this problem of fighting Tenma from Saint Seiya, which is another action figure that I have. And he's got, those metal shoes, so he's pretty tough. You don't really want to mess with him. He's got pretty tough armor, and he's a pretty tall figure when compared to a guy like Shiro. And so Shiro was like, ooh, I want to fight this guy. So he pulled out his swords that he created, and he was just like God, he didn't do the part. He was just doing the juice thing. He was cutting up Tenma, breaking up all his armor. Well, then Tenma did like a sort of thing and like kicked his arm and made his arm break off. So I threw it in the trash, and I'm gonna get another one. Now, obviously, it wasn't Tenma's fault. It was kind of mine. I did break the figure on accident, but I was, fiddling around with him, and so it just shows, I like to fiddle around. I try to take good care of my figures, but all that kind of thing. I've never really been into model kits. I don't really like the assembly, and even if you put them together, unless you glue them, they'll probably break apart. Because if I'm going to get an action figure, I'm going to play with it. I'm not the kind of person who just gets an action figure and leaves it in the box for ages. And even if I do leave them in the box for a little bit, I'm going to bring them out and play with them at some point. And maybe even put them back in the box if I really feel like it. But, other than that, oh yeah, and you mentioned the painting, which to me doesn't really seem like a big deal, because I don't feel like I'd repaint model kit, but I understand that there are probably some bad model kit paint jobs out there. Like I have a Spider-Man figure that has a pretty bad paint job, though I deal with it because I'm not much of a painter, and you're probably better at painting than I am, so you could probably do a better job of getting the detail. If I were to paint something or like a figure, I'd want to make sure I get the details, right. Like I would probably dip the figure in like a simple color, kind of for like a base, like literally dip it in the can of paint, and then paint the details later. I don't even know how I do it. I'd probably do like I'd find a way. Like I'd probably like paint the entire thing color after color after color, just so I could get all the detail right. But and I don't really like how the pieces of the model kits come in the trees. I prefer them to come in bags, just because I don't like when you twist them off. They get that little part there, and you can clip it off, which would make it fun. But it's still, just the fact that it's there, and it's just not really my thing. If I were to buy a model kit, I'd probably want to buy one assembled. And actually, there's for example, like there's a Mega Man, video game Mega Man Zero and Zero. There are currently 3 figures. There's going to be a 4th one at some point. First one is an American-made one, I think. It's just an action figure. But then the other 2 are model kits. One of them's pretty cool. And that one you can get already assembled, I think, from Hobby Link Japan or Hobby Net Japan or whatever it's called. And then there's a new one by Kotobukiya, which is a different one. His head's kind of big and probably a little more detailed oriented. It actually looks more like the game than the other figure does. But still it's a model kit. That's just me. I'm not really picky about my model kits either. This is kind of the way I roll. I do have some complaints, just general complaints. One, I don't like how certain figures are. I'm real big about articulation, basically. Like, I don't like, the old Bandai Super Battle Collection Dragon Ball Z figures. Those were the first figures that America got, and while those were cool, and I'm not saying they're bad renditions of the characters, I just don't like how they were that, not very poseable. I got used to it, and I didn't really care that much about it, because I just wanted to play Dragon Ball Z with toys, but for, posability, they're not really that fun to play with, or rather, pose. I just like articulation, basically. And of course, there are pretty articulated Dragon Ball figures, like the SH Figure Arts one, which is also pretty fragile. The Hybrid, which is also fragile and really tiny. I've been trying to find the perfect Future Trunks figure. It's funny. I feel like there exists perfect figures of other characters like Krillin, but for Future Trunks, it's kind of hard. I think I found it, but other than that, I just still trying to find the exact perfect one, and I'm not really sure. I'll probably just buy one anyway. It's an old one that I haven't. His arm broke off a long time ago. I know it sounds like I break my figures a lot, but trust me, I do take pretty good care of my figures. But I wait, what was my other one? Oh yeah, I also don't like how. Oh, one of them's how some figures are fragile, but that's not too big, because at that point, if they're too fragile, I'll just fiddle around with them, either like little to none at all. But another one, I don't like how certain series aren't made into figures. I really wish there was a Tails series action figure line, which, by the way, Versus Z, you need to play that. Play Tales of the Abyss on the PS2, or wait for Graces to come out for the PlayStation 3. Do it. Do it. Not to get off on a little tangent or off topic at all, but I really wish there was a Tails figure. Like, I know there are the statue things, but I'm not really into statues either. The best one I have, which I do have some, is like one that AJ got for me. Was like a Super Saiyan Trunks one, which is pretty badass, really cool. But that's like the only one I really like. I've got a Super Saiyan 3 Vegeta one, and I've got a Ston from Tales of Destiny one, but those aren't as cool. So I really wish there was a, action figure line, like an actual legit action figure line of Tails characters. Just like legit figures. I'd buy several of them, especially if there's a Reed one. Ooh, that'd be awesome. And then there's Legend of Dritz. I know there are custom figures and there's the little D&D miniature thing, but I want like a real Dritz action figure. And you know, I feel like I want something like official. Like I know people like I mentioned the custom figures. I want something official. I don't want like something that's just like some fan rendition thing that's probably not even that good of a quality anyway. Because I feel like with book characters, unless there's a movie, like an official movie or an official game or some official adaptation that's not like a cameo or something, I feel like then without those like official adaptations, that the character's appearance and how they look is like up to debate at that point. Even if there is some pictures out there, which there are for Dritz, but you know, I just kind of wish that maybe even like I mean, there were some EverQuest figures, but I want more, pretty badly, you know. Square Enix, I like what they're doing with their Play Arts Kai things. They seem like they're picking up a bunch of series. Like they've got Bleach, Full Metal Alchemist, they've got God of War now, and Metal Gear Solid. Like they're making figures for other companies. If they go out of business for game making, they could definitely pick up their figure line, in my personal opinion. But you know, those are really my only complaints with action figures in general. I'm pretty pleased. Like I said, it's good that we're going back to the basics because they are little figures. I mean, you know, sometimes they're pretty hard to stand if you're trying to put them on your bed, like you mentioned, and when you're like moving your bed around, it gets kind of annoying. But I just want to let you know, Versus Z, it's not your fault that the figure, fell off. It's the figure's fault. The figure is to blame. That figure is evil. Figure, man, you're evil. You shouldn't fall off of friggin' things. It's your fault. Sorry about that. I actually think I just broke it too. I'm gonna have to try and piece them together. But anyway, yeah. But that's really all I have to say about action figures. Oh, one more thing. Versus Z, I challenge you to Mortal Kombat. You will probably win, but I challenge you to Mortal Kombat. I'll even record it. I have a Dazzle, so I challenge you to Mortal Kombat. Do you accept? That's pretty much all I have to say. Put your thoughts about figures in the comments if you want. And I kind of feel bad that I just broke my Kibito. Probably shouldn't have thrown as hard. Or I probably should have just done the whole thing where it's like, haha, oh look, he's still in my hand, ha ha ha. But, what can you do? I can always just buy another one. Figures aren't exactly like arms or legs where you absolutely need them, and if you cut them off, they're like gone for good. I mean, I like action figures and all, but I'm kind of new to the action figure craze a little bit. I kind of realized I actually really do like collecting action figures, so I'm going to try and collect more. I'm going to try to actually rebuild, as crazy as that sounds to certain people, my Dragon Ball figure collection at some point when I get to a point to where I can, or I have the space for it. But, that's all I have to say about action figures. Sorry, Kibito. But, yeah. If you're watching this Versus Z, thanks for watching, and I look forward to seeing more of your videos, and keep up the good work, and I still challenge you to Mortal Kombat. Do you accept?